Hi, welcome to Christine's Corner. Today's guest is from the Carousel Museum in Bristol. Her name is Morgan Urgo. I got that right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Executive Director.
Yep.
Can you tell us who, for ones who don't know, about the Carousel Museum and where exactly it is in Bristol?
Yeah, sure. So we're based at 95 Riverside Avenue in Bristol, and we've been around for 32 years.
Oh, it's been that long?
Yeah, we were founded in 1990 as a nonprofit. Before that, we were a restoration house, and currently our mission is to preserve and protect antique operating carousels and carousel animals, but then also preserve operating carousels throughout the country. So, we support a lot of the carousels in Connecticut, so.
Like Lake Compounds?
Yep, Lake Compounds is one which is right down the street from us, which is an amazing 1911 Murphy Brothers carousel. I can go into detail.
Wow, 1911? Wow.
Yeah, 1911. And what's really amazing about the carousel at Lake Compounds is that it has a variety of carvers on it. So it's like kind of riding the history that you see in the museum, which is really lovely.
Are real wood carvers?
Yep, real wood carvers.
Do they? Are there still wood carving people that come to carve more, or is that outdated?
It's less and less. So really, the history of carousel, really, there's like what we call the golden age of carousel,
Yep.
and that's really the late 1800s, so about the 1930s, and that really is due to a few reasons, and that's because of the rise of the middle class in the United States. So you think about having no work on Sundays, the 8-hour work day,
Yeah,
or
right.
at the time I think it was like the 12-hour work day, but it was restrictions on the, so really the middle class was growing, and then you have things like electricity being invented, and you also have transportation companies buying up huge areas of land, and really that's where the first amusement parks come from, is the transportation companies.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so trolley parks and train areas, really. So if you think about like Coney Island, Island is at the end of the train lines, and so they had these huge areas of land, and at the time it was when electricity was first invented. If you had your trolley car on a Sunday and people weren't riding it, and you had a carousel at the end of the line, electricity was only charged by whether you turned it on or off. It wasn't like the usage like we use today. So if you put a carousel at the end of the trolley line, your electricity didn't go up. That didn't last forever, but so that's where we get really these trolley parks and picnic groves, and carousels were the first thrill ride.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's good.
Yeah.
That was good to know.
Yeah.
I see you brought one.
Yeah, so this is a small replica horse, but the reason why I brought it is because I think what's so incredible about carousel is that there's so much to know. So this is what we call a jumper. Everybody loves the jumpers, the ones that go up and down.
Up and down. Oh, okay.
And the way that you can tell a jumper carousel on an actual ride is if all 4 legs are off of the platform. That's the first sign that people notice that it's a jumper. And also the pole. This is a replica, so it's not a real one, but a pole on a jumper is a 2-inch pole. It's got a fat pole rather than a skinny pole, and that's because it has to support the weight of the rider and the horse.
Of course.
And then when you look up on a carousel jumper, they have the jumping mechanism that was developed by Mr. Mangles, and so those are some tricks, because everybody, when they're rushing to get on the ride, they want to know what the jumpers are.
Right, and then it's like, yeah, so of course I didn't get the jumper, I get the one that's just sitting there.
Yeah, exactly, and they get really upset.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, I wanted the jumper. But the standards are actually the oldest carousels. They were actually created when carousels were sometimes, or back in the early days, were powered by either animals in a pit underneath the carousel, or by little boys pushing it from the top. And then they were next powered by steam engine, and then electricity. So that's how they kind of get bigger and bigger and more powerful.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
How did they add the music onto that?
So that's, I think what's one of the most important things of any carousel is an operating band organ. And so band organs are a whole other subset of, carousel art. We do have, we have 3 band organs at the museum right now. One that's operational, which is a Wurlitzer. But band organs are really the first computers, and they are run off of basically a binary code system. So they're either on or off. And so a band organ pushes air through wooden pipes versus a calliope, which is pushes air through metal pipes. Very subtle difference there, but the sound is different. And then the paper runs over basically like a harmonica. A similar act as the harmonica. And then when the paper doesn't have, when the paper has a hole, it opens up and plays the note. And so it's really fascinating.
Very much. I always wondered about that. I mean, that's really big.
There's so much science behind it that I don't understand, but I know that when the paper has a hole in it, it opens up and plays the note. The note comes out,
right?
Or it should.
Yeah.
But I do think that the music is a very important part, and a lot of carousels and carousel parks and amusement parks don't operate their band organs because they're very temperamental. They're old machines. They're very sensitive to humidity. Bushnell Park Carousel in Hartford still runs its band organ, which is so lovely to ride. And the CD player music just doesn't do the same thing as riding a carousel with a band organ.
Right? It's like a vinyl record in the
Exactly. The quality is just different.
Yeah. Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful horse.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the woodcarvers would carve it. Would they also paint it, or would someone else paint?
So back in the day, the golden age of carousel, they were making hundreds of these animals, every year. And so they, the carving is actually done in a very systematic way. It's, it was a profession, it was a business. And so even though these artists were very much artists, the master carver would usually carve the head, and all carousel animals are actually hollow on the inside. They're built in a box construction, and that's because they were either meant to be outside or they were moved around a lot, and that allowed the wood to expand and contract. And some of the things that people don't realize about antique operating carousels, so Lake Compounds, Bushnell Park, Lighthouse Point in New Haven, those are all antique rides that are hand carved wooden animals and wooden figures, and they're really special treasures of art. They're these huge sculptures that are in
history.
Sculptures that you can ride, which is really fun.
Yeah, and you can still ride them.
Yeah, exactly. You could still ride them. They're incredibly well made. But the the master carver would decide the theme of the carousel. So a lot of carousels have a theme,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason why we don't see that a lot now is because the figures have been interchanged and switched and moved around so much over the last 130 years.
Right.
So it's they kind of get switched up, but when you see a complete carousel together, it's really quite lovely.
Yeah.
And then the other carvers would carve the legs or build the body boxes, and then they would go to the painting department, and there would be a separate group of people painting. Yeah.
Well, I hope they'll use the good paint and not the bad paint that was going around. But.
It's a very specific type of paint that is used, that we use on our restoration. So the museum, we do full restorations. We're actually restoring Lake Compounds Carousel right now, as well as Sunny's Place, which is in Somers, Connecticut. It's a family fun park.
I remember now.
Yeah, it's really a fun place. And so they have a beautiful 1925 Philadelphia Toboggan Company carousel, which was actually previously has some history in Connecticut. It actually was in Waterbury. So if anybody knows, the carousel that was at Lakewood Park in Waterbury in the late 40s, it was there. Yeah. It went back to storage, and then it went to Kittyland in Chicago, and then it was in storage for a long time until Sunny's Place bought it, and then built a beautiful building for it. Yeah.
I'll have to go.
Yeah. Oh, everyone should go. It's really, really amazing, and they do also run their own band organ, which is nice.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's I don't know. What's the first attraction? The music or the horses.
Yeah, no, it is. It's you know, the music calls you from far away. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's meant to, it has two purposes. It's meant to let everybody know that the carousel is
The
running,
carousel.
and then also hide the noise, because if you've ever ridden on a carousel without any music, it sounds really scary.
Oh.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see you have a miniature.
Yeah, so there's a huge group of miniature collectors out there. We also have at the museum in Bristol, we have several miniatures. We actually have a whole room on the second floor dedicated to miniatures and a miniature gallery. And when you walk into the miniature gallery, that some of them turn on. And so we also do a lot of figures at the museum. And it's just always fun to show people that there's such great artistry around Carousel.
Yeah, definitely. I had seen them when I brought someone to the other day.
Yeah.
To the Carousel Museum. It had been a while. My kids are grown now,
Yeah.
so it was lovely it was great to see all the different animals in there.
Yeah.
And I saw
Yeah.
some miniature horses
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing before.
Yeah.
It was fun to see the different animals.
Yeah, we have a lot of animals. So in the museum right now, we have just under 400 figures, and just about half of them, 200 of them, are the museums, belong to the museum, and the other half are on long-term loan or short-term loan to the museum. So they're always changing. But we do have a section of carousel animals that is dedicated to European, and that's really where you find the menagerie animals, which is like barnyards. And in Germany you might find a whole carousel dedicated to pigs, and in England they have a carousel called the Chanticleer, which is the carousel of the galloping chickens. So here in the United States we have a little obsession with our cowboys and Indians, so that's why you see a lot of horses. But
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was great to see the different animals.
Yeah.
And play act in the.
We actually just got a really beautiful new to the museum, but old carousel lion, which was really lovely to
Oh
receive.
yeah, we seen the lion where we're just going.
He's so
"Arr."
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
We also saw one. You have a carousel ride too.
Yeah.
That was good to see.
Yeah, we do. That was actually a gift to the museum from a gentleman down in Florida, I think in 2012, before my time, and we raised enough money to have it shipped up to the museum and reinforce the floor and everything to get it in there. It's a resin carousel. It's a children's carousel, but it's quite beautiful. It's a Bertizan that was built in the 1990s. So. But it's really nice to be able. You gotta have a ride when you come to the Carousel
definitely.
Museum.
Yes. It's $1 a ride.
Yeah,
so it's
$1 a
that's
ride.
a good deal.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It certainly
I
makes
saw some dolphins there and some
Yeah.
eagle. And,
Yeah. We do. So there's a changing exhibition that's up right now, and it's Carousel Art of the 21st Century, which features an artist that's from Newburyport, Massachusetts, Jeffrey Briggs, and he created the Greenway Carousel in Boston, and that was created after the Big Dig, if you remember the Big Dig, and they put all the highways underneath and created this green space.
Yep.
And they built a carousel for that, and he asked 3rd and 4th graders in the Boston area to give him ideas for the animals, but it had to be animals from their neighborhood. So there's the peregrine falcon,
Yes.
a lobster, monarch butterflies, there's a skunk, some sea turtles, all different kinds of things. But in the process of them making that carousel, they made 3 additional ones. And so the peregrine falcon, the lobster, and the monarch butterfly were copied, or second ones were made, and they were given to the museum.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That was very fortunate.
Yeah, they're
for you.
beautiful. They're really beautiful.
Well, we didn't get to go upstairs to see the firehouse, the fire museum.
Yeah. So the Museum of Fire History was donated to the museum in 2002. It was a gift of Carlisle Hap Barnes, and Mr. Barnes was a local businessman. He ran the Barnes group, which was based in Bristol, but his entire life he really wanted to be a firefighter. His family is a founding family of Bristol, and they founded the Bristol Fire Department. And so he was the fire commissioner for many, many years in Bristol, and he had a majority of what you see in the museum in his basement. It was his collection in his basement. I think there's
there's a lot.
Yeah, there's just over 2,000 objects in there right now. It's huge. Yeah, it's really
That's
amazing.
a big basement.
Yeah, it's a big basement.
Yeah.
But he really collected a lot of beautiful things over the years when he was traveling throughout the world for business, and he would collect firefighting equipment. And one of my favorite things is there's it's a plain axe, but on the wall panel it says Queen Mary. And so I asked his children, I said, how did Hap get an axe off of the Queen Mary?
Right.
He said that's just the kind of guy he was. People just gave him things.
Wow.
So it's really great. And a lot of people go, well, why a carousel museum and a fire museum?
Right.
And one of the things that I say is that at the height of the golden age of carousel, we had about 4,000 operating carousels in the United States.
4,000?
4,000.
Wow.
We're down to about 175.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It's a big difference, and a lot of that is because of fire. And so without the advancements of the firefighting technology that you find in the fire museum, we wouldn't have preserved as many carousels as we have. So
I understand that.
Yeah, definitely.
And you said that there's a Greek?
Yep. So we have a small Greek museum. It's a space that's dedicated to the Upper Macedonian region of Greece. All of the marble and stone is actually imported from that area. It's really quite beautiful, and that was really through a partnership with the Greek Padilla at UConn. And it's a small space. When we purchased our building in 1998, it was the whole second floor was really new space for us, which is about 15,000 square feet. So it was a big space to fill.
Quite big.
Yeah, and so now we have a ballroom. It's a ballroom that we do our events and fundraisers, and as well as weddings and things like that. So, but then there's the fire museum at one end, the Greek museum, and then we also have our restoration house upstairs on the second floor.
Wow.
So it's a really big facility.
Do you still do sleepovers? They used to.
We haven't been doing as many sleepovers, but what's really interesting is that we've had a lot of moms who were children when we used to do the sleepovers come in and say, I want to do a sleepover with my daughter's Girl Scout troop. So, times have changed a little bit with, liability and things like that. So, but there's a lot of people who want to do sleepovers in the museum, whether they want to do it because they think it's scary or they want to do it because they think it's going to be fun. But
Halloween's coming soon.
Yeah, Halloween's coming.
I see you have
tail. Yeah, this isn't my tail. Yeah. So few people know that the tails on antique carousel horses are actually real horsehair. Do you want to touch it? Some people are grossed out by it. So. But they're real horsehair, and they're stretched around a dowel, and they're very, very hard to come by these days. But we try our best to condition them and get them back on the carousel horses as much as we can, because after a whole year or a whole summer of kids wiping cotton candy fingers and things like that on them, but they're quite beautiful. So So that's that.
Do you put those one on the wooden ones?
Yes, on the wooden ones. Yeah, exactly. And those were mainly found on carousels that were what we call stationary. They didn't travel from fair to fair or from town to town. Those were country fair style carousel horses, and most of the time those were carved to travel, and they would have a carved tail attached, because in the traveling you wouldn't want that tail to fall out. You wouldn't want the horsehair tail to fall out because you'd be constantly replacing them. These are really for places like Bushnell Park or lake compounds that the places the carousels don't move.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I said, well, you don't have to cut it or anything.
Yeah, they're so long.
Yeah.
So, but they're beautiful.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For bringing it. I can't see what's in front of us.
Oh, sure. Let me grab this. So this I just brought.
Be careful of your speaker.
This is a trim piece, and this would actually go this way. And this actually house where what we call the sweeps, which are the bars that come off of the center part of the carousel.
Okay.
And so as carousels advanced and became more decorative and larger, they started creating these trim pieces that covered more and more of the machines. So sometimes we see these beautiful carousels that have a lot of decoration and we think, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. And then you see these older machines and they don't have as much decoration and they don't look as pretty, but they're actually a lot older because they don't have a lot of this other wooden decorative pieces hiding, the mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
Very.
Thousands and thousands of wooden pieces that go to make up each little section of a carousel, and some carousels have 14, 18 sections.
Wow.
So they're incredibly complex puzzles that get put together.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. I just, think of the horses. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
thank you for
everything,
bringing it.
you're welcome. Everything is hand carved. There's such masterful woodworkers. It's really incredible.
Yeah, very precise.
Yeah. And everything has to match because it all has to fit together.
Oh, wow. You have to be really talented.
Really talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
brought a CD.
I did. This is for you. This is our band organ series of Halloween tunes because you just mentioned that's for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You brought some books. And,
yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we have 5 minutes.
Okay.
So how long have you been there? I mean, I'm listening to you. It seems like you really enjoy
I love it.
your job. So
I do. I love it. So I've been at the museum since 2016. I started off as the museum manager. I live in town. I live in Bristol, and I was volunteering at the museum before that, and then I became the executive director in 2019, and have just over 3.5 years. I've been director. But most of that during COVID, which was really interesting. It was a difficult time for us, like it was for everybody. But I love it, and we have a lot of wonderful programs and events, and I love to learn. And there's so much history in these pieces and these animals. And I come from the museum world, and so not really hearing or learning about these as American sculpture. I've really learned to love them as American sculpture, which is really incredible.
I was wondering, I don't know if you know this because I'm just throwing this at you now.
No, please.
I'm sorry. The carousels, did they start in the United States?
So we're gonna need another show for that. But no, they did not. They actually started in the 1500s. It was a military training exercise, and so it was all about the knights and jousting, and it was how the knights practiced their equestrian skills. And so you'll have to have me back. We'll talk all about the history. Yeah, that would be fun. I would love that. That would be great.
I didn't think of the jousting.
Yeah, the jousting. And so that's where the term grab the brass ring comes from, is because they would take their lances and they would try to spear these little tiny rings. And the Grand Carousel in France was actually an equestrian show. And that's where it comes from. And then once knights fell out of military favor, they kind of migrated to beer gardens and then into the United States. But the oldest operating carousel is from the 1700s, and it's in Hanau, Germany. It's really amazing.
It's still there?
It's still there.
Wow.
Yep. That's the oldest one that we know of that's still in operation.
And it's operating?
It's operating. Yeah,
wow.
It's just recently restored.
Wow, very good.
Yeah.
So the museum, is it open Monday through Friday?
Yeah, we're open
weekends?
Wednesday through Saturday, 10 to noon, and Sundays noon to 5. I'm sorry, 10 to 5, and Sundays noon to 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do a lot of school children come there?
Yeah,
Is there tours?
Well, prior to COVID, we did have a lot of school groups, but we have, we're building that back. But we do a lot of STEAM and science education because there's a lot of engineering that goes into the carousel. So we talk a lot about that, as well as the artistry and the music, and we do writing prompts. So we do have a lot of school groups. Hopefully, that will start coming back this year.
Yeah, it's slowly coming
slowly
out.
Getting there.
Cross our fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the place is really big. And,
it's huge.
I think last time I was there, they had carvers events you had
Yes.
there too.
Yep, we do. Yep, we have a lot of events. We work with the Connecticut Wood Carving Association a lot, and they're really supportive of us, and we try to give them space whenever they need it. They have a carving event once a month at the museum, the second Wednesday, which is open to the public. So if you're interested in carving, you're more than welcome to come on down.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, definitely. And there was a good amount of parking, it seemed.
Yeah, we have some parking, and then we have the Bristol Water Department, who's our neighbors. They have some parking on the other side of their building, and they allow us to kind of use that as overflow, as long as it's not during on the weekends when they're not open.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's great.
And parking's free.
Parking's free. And I noticed there was handicap parking.
Yes, handicap parking. The whole building is ADA accessible. We have handicap restrooms and an elevator to the second floor.
There was a ramp going inside.
Yes, and a ramp coming inside.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you came. I hope
you.
you come again.
Yes.
I hope all you out there enjoyed the show today. I'm sure you did, as I did. Very interesting facts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Once you get me started, I can't stop.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure everyone loves all this information.
Yeah.
Yeah, and glad you brought all the props that you brought.
Yeah.
So, thank you for tuning in to Christine's Corner, and thank you.
Thank you
for coming.
Thank you.
Riverview Apartments is Bristol's two-time beautification award-winning residence community for adults age 55 and older. They offer 1 or 2 bedroom apartments with modern appliances, air conditioning, wall-to-wall carpet, and tiled floors. Both heat and hot water are included. Riverview also offers a wide range of activity rooms that include a billiard parlor and a spacious community room. It is handicap accessible with safe, secure parking for tenants and ample off-street parking for visitors. 860-940-6757 or riverviewbristol.com.